What's up, SNA Assassinators? This is Super Ninja Austin back here with another Dynamite review, but not just any ordinary Dynamite. This is their 250th episode, and what an excellent job they booked this show. Like with the three most biggest match of AEW history, where we got Okada versus Swerve, we got Ospreay versus Freeman, we got Monet taking on Rose, we got them all. Even though that's the only three matches, but they were the best. And I would say I'll give the number one match to Ospreay versus MJF, not because of the main event match. As a matter of fact, it's the complete opposite. It was the opener. Yeah, it's very surprising. And I understand why they did it, because one, Swerve Strickland's the AEW World Champion, and two, we're building things up, planting those seeds on the Blood and Guts match, which is in the next 7 days from now on July 24th, I believe. Yeah, But yeah, let's get started with the opener match, which was Maxwell Jacob Friedman taking on the aerial assassin Will Ospreay. Man, I was not exactly expecting what was going to happen in the outcome. And no, Daniel Garcia did not made no appearance to interfere and get some revenge onto Matt Friedman, rather than being the complete opposite. But let's get started right here, because this match lasted for like a whole hour, or nearly an hour, because it was just an inch away from being the time limit going up. But we're gonna start off with MJF and Ospreay starting off with them grappling around, going back and forth. When fans are booing, "Boo, you suck, Maxwell," and this Maxwell Freeman's like, "Well, if I suck, you must, I'm not gonna say the word, SWALLOW." He's like, and this is where then we got. This is where then he then grappled. This is where then he start. This is where then he goes for a wrist lock right onto Will Ospreay, but Ospreay countered and then go for a wrist lock of his own, turned into a headlock. First he was the right arm, but he went for the left arm. MJF countered and go for a wrist lock again, but this is where he flipped right over. This is where he was doing the robot styling profiling walk, like if he's Ric Flair or Jeff Jarrett or somebody. This is where then we got Will Ospreay's like, "You cannot take down the aerial assassin." This is where he started wiggling his hips, started going forward and back with his pelvic area and his backside. This is where then we got MJF nearly broke character here with him nearly laughing, but he tucked it in so he won't break it. And he will stay in character. This is where then he got back to seriousness, went for a headlock, showed his mugging mad face. This is where he then tried to go for a slam. This is what fans were chanting, "Ospreay, Ospreay, Ospreay," which I was thinking to myself, like, what kind of fragrance are they spraying? Because they won't stop saying "Ospreay." But anyway, this is where we got what's his name? Will Ospreay then hit him with a headlock slam. This is where he tried to hit him with the hidden blade to end things early, but he did not know that it was going to be a long way coming. But this is where we got MJF move out of the way, slam him with a headlock slam of his own, try to go over pin. He only got one pin even, barely. But this is where we got Will Ospreay doing the same, but this is where then he got him on the ground doing a grounding headlock. But this is where we got Ospreay start running around, spinning around. This is where we got fans who chanting like AEW, AEW, AEW. This is where then we got. This is where then he grabbed on to what's his name, MJF's head. This is where MJF was like you idiots are chanting for this a fool that's not even gonna last a whole year in this company. And this is where fans like, hell yeah, we are. Like, he sure beats you. This is where MJF then told him, "You can go shut the flub up and suck." Yeah, I gotta say the rest, but this is where then he tried to throw him right over the top rope in the left side. This is where then we got Ospreay then move out of the way, ducks. He calls on him instead. MJF's plan backfired, and this is where we got Ospreay's like, "Okay, got him down now. I need to do my thing." And this is where then he runs to the right side. This is where we're about to go for a suicide dive, but this is where MJF moved out of the way, taking the page out of Samoa Joe's playbook. But Ospreay knew what's on his mind, so he went to the top corner ropes, went through there, went towards down the bottom, hit a suicide dive from that corner in the bottom corner of the ringside area, knocking him into Barry's tombstone in the bottom corner side is where then he hits a flapjack on the MJF when he tried to run up to him and try to hit a running attack move. He did not know what move to hit, but yeah, that was a huge mistake. That's where we got Ospreay boots him right in the face, hits a back suplex. On top of that is where fans start chanting Ospreay, and they were saying, we're spraying. I did not know what they were spraying. I was like, let's hope it's something that I don't hate, which I don't like, and let's hope it don't taste like it doesn't taste like mouse bait, like because it just went to waste. And anyways, I don't know why I'm like coming up with these rhymes like if I'm freestyling right now. But this is where we got what's his name? Well, Ospreay then was about to hit the hidden blade, but this is where MJF's like, no, I get, I don't want to get hit with the maneuver. That's what Will Ospreay's like, oh really? He's giving up already? Like if he was gonna give up, like you would allow me to hit the maneuver. That's where Ospreay's like, I'm not buying it. But but the bad thing is, like, MJF was tricking him. That's where he pulled him, hit face first right to that turnbuckle on the bottom, on the upper right side. He started stomping him right to his face with his boot. That's where then he picks him up. He Irish whip him right to from the top right side to the bottom left side. That's where he flipped him right over, hit him back first. That's where MJF's like, I'm your new international championship. I was like, man, like what would the shocker would be like if MJF was the international champion, even if he's not determined to win. But we're gonna have to wait and see who's gonna walk out of Little Rock is the international champion. But yeah, this is where MJF then starts sniffing his snot, like imaginary snot, not realistically. But yeah, he's sniffing it right on and blew it out right onto the fans and even to Ospreay as well. And this is where he started going for like an abdominal stretch lock until Ospreay got back up. This is where we got Ospreay then try to go for I'll say like when he flipped right out, that's where he tried to flip right out into MJF's back suplex, but MJF got him fooled because he grabbed onto his neck and stunned him after he hit a back suplex like combination maneuver. But once he tried to go for a pin for that maneuver, but Ospreay kicked out 2 on the dot on even. Just where MJF's like, wow, like I would expect that I would have at least gotten 2.9. Like I would not know he was going to kick out so easily. Like that move looks so brutal, more dangerous than Stone Cold's original stunner. Just where we got him, and I was thinking to myself like, man, the phenomenal forearm must be a signature maneuver because I always see him do this maneuver like whenever before he tried to go for the C9 Tiger Driver or even the hidden blade or even the Os Cutter. But this is where then we got MJF to try to fight back and try to hit a big right hand onto Ospreay, but Ospreay stopped him right on time and hit him with a right hand of his own. This is where then we got. Then he started hitting some more right to his face until he got to the left side. He dipped him right to the from the left to the right, but MJF countered and threw him onto the right side instead. He hit him with a flying forearm strike right to his face that made him sent him right into the right side of the ringside area. That's where we got Ospreay. Then was feeling the rising I'll say HP meter going off on in his system in his engine, I should say. But this is where then he ran right to the left side, did a little cartwheel, and then a backflip, standing, and then it went right onto MJF and landed right onto the former AEW World Champion. This is where Ospreay's like, I can't believe I just did that, and I'm kind of regretting doing that, but it was all worth it, and it's gonna be all worth it when I retain here. This is where, even though he successfully hit that maneuver and then the shooting star press to follow that up with, when he got in the ring, he still got a kick out of 2.99999999999 minus 2 point away from being 3. And I was very stunned, even though I knew that he was gonna kick out on the spot, and it's not like a hidden blade or an Os Cutter or a C9 twister driver maneuver. But this is where we got Ospreay then and go for a sky twister dive, which is like a diving corkscrew. But this is where we got MJF still kick out at a 2.8. This is where Ospreay is like this is extremely impossible. Even though it's not none of my 3 finishing maneuvers, but it should have been something. But this is where they try to go for the hidden. This is where fans are like, this is awesome. Even though it was a dozen minutes, it's been a match, but this is where we got Ospreay to try. Nearly hit him with the hidden blade, but MJF moved out on the outside. Will Ospreay then hit him with a springboard forearm strike, like how AJ Styles would do. This is where fans are pulling out their hands to do a high five, which I believe they're probably not going to wash. Which I believe that's that's honorable and disgusting at the same time. But this is where we got Ospreay then grabbing onto something that he could use as a devastating weapon onto the man that's the salt of the earth, like which it was none other than the table. This is where then he lifted up. This is where then he placed it right onto the right side of the ringside area. This is where then we got Ospreay then grab onto MJF. This is where he tried to throw him right to the table, but MJF countered, threw him back in the ring. This is where then he tried to get some attack moves onto Will Ospreay, then beat him to it, hit some knife-edge chop of his own, which I believe it earned himself a #1 spot on Gunther's Envy list, which he must have been somewhere in, I'll say what city they were in, and I'll say maybe in somewhere in Ohio, or maybe even in wherever they're at in the Midwest. But yeah, this is where we got. But this is where we got what's his name? Ospreay then saw him some more knife edge chop, which I think he's begging to fight the former Intercontinental Champion. And this is where we got Ospreay then going up and try to go for a splash onto MJF, but MJF flips him right up in the air in the bottom left side. He gets him with a super kick. This is where he tried to go for like some kind of a dip into like a springboard dip, like with his hands on the ropes, and then try to jump up and try to hit some kind of, I don't know, like some kind of sunset flip maneuver, but this is where Will Ospreay countered, and this is where then he tried to go for a springboard of his own, but this is where he nearly gets hit with a pile driver by MJF. This is where he then threw MJF right to the right side, but this is where he goes for a springboard dodge, but this is where he gets hit right into the turnbuckle. This is where he gets count, and this is where he gets caught off guard, and this is where Will Ospreay brought down the Phoenix, and then he gets kicked right to the midsection, gets pile driver by MJF. This is where MJF tried to go for a cover, but this is where he only got a 2.6, I believe. Like, and yeah, like the rule book says, like if it doesn't work the first attempt, then it's guaranteed the second time, which that was the case right here for the Salt of the Earth. This is where we got him trying to go for a cover, but Ospreay still got the shoulders and the head up at 2.7. This is where we got. That's where we got MJF's like, man, what do I have to do? What will it take for me to become the international champion? Fans are like, let's go, Ospreay, clap, 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 clap. And none was not cheering for MJF because he is a scumbag. And even though he may be their scumbag, but they don't want him to be in this manner. But this is where he then tried to go for a figure 4 leg lock. At first, Ospreay had it locked in, but this is where we got Ospreay then trying to find a way to spin it right back. Like, and this is where he managed to do so for like a couple of twists and turns. Like, this is where Ospreay finally got him right, his legs onto Maxwell's legs. This was like, let go. Like, I promise not to do this painful submission maneuver ever in my life. And this is where then Ospreay's like, yeah, right, like, whatever, you are lying, obviously. And this is where then MJF was like, you're not as dumb as you think you are. This is where somehow he flipped right back and then locked it right back in and got it, and they made it more painful, like triple times than ever. This is where then he nearly had him right where he wanted him, but Ospreay managed to grab onto the ropes. But this is where MJF got very pissed off. He got into the second place spot on Gunther's Envy list, which he don't give a damn because he will be prepared to try and knock him out with his dynamite diamond ring. That's where he started hitting some chops repeatedly. Not as much as Ospreay did to him, though, but this is where he wrist locked him, Irish whip him right to the upper right side. This is where he then hits him like shoulder and back first right onto the turnbuckles. This is where then we got MJF then do a huge grin right onto to Ospreay. This is where then he went onto the ropes. You did a huge grin like like yeah, like you. You guys are so naive and gullible. Like you think you think that I really want to be your residential scumbag? Like, well, it's only bad enough that I already am, but like I don't not want to. This is where he hits a big knife edge chop, trying to get the #1 spot at Gunther. This is where then he hits it with a striking kick right into the back. This is where then we got Will Ospreay selling this like a king that he is, a king of selling, like one of the kings of selling in AEW, because when it comes to selling, like he's an ace in the game. But anyways, he's an ace on the test, I should say, of wrestling selling with. But this is where then the Irish whip him right to the right side. This is where his right leg was given out. Like, oh, my right knee. And then this is where then we got the referee's like, and this is where MJF's like, oh, like he's faking. Like he there's nothing wrong with his knee. Like, why don't you get him the hell up and finish him off? Like, if he cannot do this, like, you might as well just forfeit his championship to me, and when I defeat him. And this is where the referee's like, no, not in this way. Like, I'll make sure this is fair. Like, and this is where the referee's like, this is where MJF's like, who gives a flub that it's fair? Like, I want my international title. And this is where the referee's like, well, you have to wait because I got to check on Ospreay if he can still compete in this match. But this is where we got Ospreay's like, I'm not sure if I can still compete, but I'm still trying. But this is where MJF's like, if you can, like, why don't you get back in the ring and I can just rake your eyes and your face and the rest of your face. This is where then Ospreay tried to grab on his face, but it was no use because he already started raking and started scratching and clawing. And this is where then Ospreay is there like, you may nearly blind me, but I can still see. And this is where he punched him right into the midsection, then in the right hand to the face, then some knife edge chop to still maintain his lead as the number one envious wrestler that Gunther has on his list on tonight's AEW Dynamite. This is where Ospreay would start grabbing on his knee. My knee, like it's so terrible. This is where he went to the right side, but he gets kneed right into the midsection. This is where they try to go for this where he gets kneed right into the midsection. This is where we got what's his name? MJF to try to go for a pin, but he only got a 2.1 count. This is where MJF's like, "I'll be kidding me," and then he's like, even though that was just a basic just a basic move, but that should have been a hard kick out. This is where then MJF to start stomping right onto the right foot. This is where then we got MJF then start waiting for him to get back up so he can go for another maneuver he has in mind, which I'm not sure what it was. But he started hitting some big elbow strike right into the back of the neck of Ospreay. This is where they grab onto the aerial assassin's back, start raking it and trying to use that to distract him, like so he won't have enough in the tank to put him away. This is where but Ospreay said, like, you think that's gonna phase me? Like, I got hit with worse painful agitating moves than that. This is where he kicks him right in the midsection. This is where he starts booting him right to the face with his left shin. This is where then he hits him with a big knife edge chop to send him to the right side. This is where we got MJF to start grabbing onto his head and then start raking him in the eyes. This is where the referee's like, all right, like here in the ropes, like, you better stop it. This is where he stopped at the count of 3. This is where then MJF went to the left side and got Ospreay on the left side. This is where they ran to each other and hit a double clothesline on one another, like if it was AEW All In again last year, like when MJF did that to Adam Cole and Adam Cole did it to him, vice versa. But this is where then both men were down to the ground. This is where MJF was like, I hope I'm not bleeding, because he started touching his nose. This is where we got Ospreay then getting right back up. This is where then he tried to pick him up slowly, but I think it was a bad idea because this is where MJF need his bad knee. This is where MJF's like, brainbuster, SOBs, and then this is where then he tried to go for it. But somehow, with Ospreay's remaining strength and the stamina, he picks him up and hit him with a stunt dog stunner. This is where he tried to go for the Os cutter by springboarding right to the right side. This is where he successfully did that. I thought, I was like, yeah, this is it. Like, yeah, I think Ospreay's going to win this right here. But what I did not know was going to happen next is that MJF is going to roll out of the ring, and then this is where it gave a little bit of a disadvantage to the aerial assassin, and Maxwell knew that, so he used that for his advantage. This is where then he grabbed onto MJF. He threw him right back in the ring. This is where we got Ospreay then going up right up on the top corner apron. This is where we got Ospreay try to go for Os cutter, like right onto the hardest part of the ring. This is where like he did not realize that it's not a guaranteed if you try to go for a second attempt, like when you already successfully did the first time. And that was the case right here where MJF's pushing himself right back, laying back first right on the apron. He's like, this is more comfortable than getting hit face first right onto the hardest part. This is where then Ospreay then felt more the impact than MJF did, because he gave it a double take, right, of trying to go for an Os cutter, but he damaged his back in the process of even trying to do that. This is where my back, and then this is where then we got both men were in the ring. This is where they start hitting their strikes right on one another, playing wrestling tennis. This is where then we got, but like until like they start going back and forth, like yay boo back and forth. This is where we got MJF kind of overpowering him right into the left side. This is where we got Ospreay then then try to Irish whip him right to the from the left side to the right side, but this is where he gets countered by Ospreay. This is where he try to go for a big clothesline. Ospreay ducks. This is where he goes for a springboard, step up in security, but made him roll into like a 450 kind of position. This is where then we got both men slowly but surely got back up after that. This is where I was like, wow, like this is taking a while. Like it's already been past 30 minutes now. Like because like I'm like because yeah. Because when I was looking at the timer on while I was watching on my phone, this is where it said it was exactly like a little bit over 30 minutes. Like, and this is where we got Will Ospreay to try to use MJF's head to slam it right onto the table. But this is where MJF did a double shove right onto his throat to stop him from throwing him right into the unforgiving structure that the fans love seeing in no DQ matches. But the thing is, it wasn't no DQ, but you can still use use that in the match as long as you're not going to whack somebody with it by using it as a weapon. But this is where then we got Ospreay went up right on the stage, right onto the audience. This is where they started going back and forth, hitting punches until they got right back down. After Ospreay hit him right onto the railing, this is where then he threw him right back into the ringside area. This is where that's where I was like, yeah, like wow, like this is gonna be Ospreay's match, and not only that, but also like let's hope that MJF will not be like Daniel Garcia, even though he might deserve it by putting the young wrestler on the shelf. But this is where then we got Ospreay. Then this is where we got Will Ospreay then was thinking about throwing MJF right onto the table, but this is where he was like, no, maybe it's not a good idea. But once he tried to pick up MJF that was in the ring, he gets a nearly tombstone pile driver by MJF. But Will Ospreay then counter and go for a wheelbarrow roll up. But this is where they both were hitting each other with wheelbarrow roll ups, or they will keep getting 1-2 oohs repeatedly into 2.9s. But this is where we got Will Ospreay to strike right into MJF's face, hit him with a poison rana that made him look like he just got hit with a pile driver or a brainbuster maneuver. He gets sent right over to the upper right side. Will Ospreay gets right back up. This is where then Will Ospreay then they go for a spine where MJF puts him right over the upper right side. He gets super kicked right into the jaw, knocking him over. There's MJF right to the middle rope. This is where then he hits a Panama Sunriser, which I understand why they haven't continued their feud. Unless they're going to have maybe let's say Adam Cole be back as a babyface, but we're just going to have to wait and see about that. But this is where we got MJF going for the cover, but he ends up only getting a 2.999 once the referee was nearly at the mat for 3. But this is where Ospreay got the shoulder up at 2.999, double triple 9 minus 0 point away from being 3. But this is where we got Ospreay then rolling right up in the upper right side. This is where fans start chanting, "This is awesome." And I was like, yeah, you're damn sure right. It's awesome. And I was thinking to myself, like, if it doesn't get the number 1 spot, which it did, like I would give it second place. Like if somehow Swerve and Okada or Mercedes Moné and now Rhodes gets the number 1 spot, then it's definitely getting second. But I don't think it is. I was thinking to myself, I was like, yeah, this is definitely like a main event worthy match. Like, and if it wasn't for any reasons why that this match is on the opener of the card, I would have been saying like, how come this is not on the on the main event part on the main event side of things? Yeah, but anyways, on the tonight's 250th episode, this is where MJF put him. Anyways, back in the match is where we got MJF putting Will Ospreay right onto the table, but somehow, like surprisingly, Will Ospreay rolled right out of the table. This is where MJF's like, "What the flub? Like how he got out of there? Like it's very impossible." And this is where MJF then finally somehow got first place by hitting some angry chops about once, but it was very intimidating to the point that he demandingly got the number 1 spot. This is where they start grabbing onto the arm and start trying to bend it and twist it. This is where the referee's